here with the Maria and Joe Live TV. And right now I'm in Honolulu, Hawaii at the Aloha Bowl. I happen to run a good friend of mine, Dr. Robert Hayes, who just recently relocated from California to Hawaii. How do you think, Rob?
How we doing, everybody? Hawaii, here I am. I made a decision. I said when I first started coming back from overseas, I'd always RR here in Hawaii. So it's been, and I've been, in fact, I even got married here about 6 years ago, so it's always been a favorite place. So I said, well, let me give it a shot for years. So I have a teaching credential from about 10 years ago. So I'm working at Kapolei High School. It's on the leeward side of Oahu. And it's been interesting because I'm, born and raised in California. You want to go over to the ocean. The water's so cold, it's pretty to look at. You can't get in it. And I don't want to wear a wetsuit, and I don't surf. But I'm over here. My wife and I, every weekend, we go over to the coves here on the leeward side. You get a nice warm water. We're actually in the winter time now. It's probably 84 degrees. And what makes it winter here is you get a little more rain.
Do you get a lot of tourists or people just homesteading here and never leaving?
What's interesting, I have two cousins that have been here. My uncle, he discharged from the military in the 50s, moved to Hawaii, and now both his sons, my cousins, they're in their late 50s, have been living here for 20-something years. What has amazed, we see a lot of tourists that's usually going to be around Waikiki, but my wife and I have found out how many people are located from the mainland because the weather, it feels good. Their body doesn't hurt as much. It looks like people don't smile and you say hi and all of a sudden they're happy.
That's the first thing I noticed. Yeah. Everyone looks like they frown.
Like they frown and you go, what's the matter? They're just used to people not talking to them. And if you say hi, they go.
I guess that's common. You get the locals that have their own world and the tourists have their own world. It's the interaction between both is kind of
and difficult. I tell you, if anybody, I was just telling Joe, I said, I met a guy from Fresno, California. He's got 1 year college. They hired him. As long as he finishes his college here, he has a teaching credential. So he gets what's called a provisional, making good money, making $3,500 a month. And he only has 1 year of college. They're so desperate for teachers. In fact, I met a guy in the wood shop. He came from he has no teaching credential. He worked in the construction industry. So he runs the wood shop, and he's a local. And he said, I would say of our staff, maybe 110 teachers, at least 40 of them are from the mainland. They've relocated here. So you find people that are in their early 20s, and I'm in my middle 60s.
Old people like
my middle 60s. But what's interesting, for a lot of you guys, you think about your neuropathy and things, you think about your high blood pressure, you think anxiety and stuff. It has really gone down here, and I'm not kidding.
I notice a lot of people are laid back. Maybe not so much in the traffic in the city, but outside the city, they're in no hurry to get anywhere.
Yeah, we get over there. We decided the surf championships on the North Shore. Well, last weekend we just decided because we want to go look at some sea turtles. So we went over to Haleiwa. I'm on the leeward side. It took me 30 minutes, that's all. And that's about 50 miles an hour. So you're driving, you go past the Dole Pineapple Plantation. You get in there and you can tell people, you know who the locals are, and you know others who've been here long enough that we're now called Kama'aina. Means you're a local. And I got my Hawaii ID now, Kama'aina. So, and I tell you what, I think the other thing I appreciate here, they don't really have the concept of the word minority like we know in the States. People feel oppressed, and I know it exists here, but you don't really hear that concept because everybody is so mixed race that there's no concept of, well, you can't do this and you can't do that. I go, it's kind of comfortable. And I prefer, I've got so many veteran buddies. Anywhere from Vietnam, I've just ran into a CB. He was in Vietnam 66, 2 tours to 68. He was in NMCB1. And he said, you know what happened? I R&R'd here. And he goes, so I moved here when I discharged. He's now 74 years old. He goes, I've been living in Hawaii ever since. And he goes, it's just comfortable. And I tell you what, for a lot of guys, you talk about, it's our stress and every day, because you don't have to do anything here. Nancy and I, we were just here at the swap meet last week. Why? In fact, I laughed. I just ran into a kid as our bartender at the Outback. I go, is it happy hour, brother?
That's pretty good. Now, I know you through the work you do with the veterans because you have a PhD, a doctorate in psychology, and you do a lot of research helping veterans. And a lot of them suffer with anxiety, depression, obviously post-traumatic stress, as I do.
Right.
And you're saying they come here, they can relax a little bit better.
I think you can relax because, one, there's so many military around here. You always run into them.
Sure.
So there's almost a kinship. You remember what it was like. I don't want to be in a bunk with anybody. But it reminds me, it just reminds you. And I think the flow of it, and everybody's very appreciative of military. And I think for those dealing with, I'm still handling guys here, helping with their benefits.
Sure.
And you look at it and I go, well, how are you doing here? The big thing is they're saying their anxiety, their stress. For a lot of us in the Vietnam era, there's enough of the jungle around here that reminds us of it, that feels safe because it's not dangerous, but it's remindful. You see enough people from Southeast Asia that we're not in combat now, so it's different. And I think for a lot of Navy, Air Force, every day I look over to the school, I see these 6 F-22s flying over every day. There's still a C-130 transport that's assigned to the Coast Guard. It's like I like to see these guys. So I think in fact, last week we were looking because there were 2 Chinooks and 6 Hueys flying over, and I go, now there's that whop, whop, whop sound. I could feel it, but I was safe. And I think and because you can be all alone and not know anybody, and you can find somebody here who's a friend. Just instantly, Nancy and I, we've met so many people that are it's just acquaintances, but it's okay. And I think that's what's nice.
Well, that's good. So you're obviously still helping out veterans. You're teaching, you're a researcher. So you think Hawaii's going to be your home from now on?
It's hard to tell. We go home for Christmas, and I'll say, because home's California, we'll say, well, let's see, how do we feel about it? Did we miss it? My contract, the school year is over May 31st. And I go, well, let's think about it. How did we feel? And because in 3 years, I'll be 66. And I'm thinking, okay, wait, I can get my full benefits. Maybe I can just hang on for 3 years and get my full Social Security. That's an extra $500 a month. So I go, I don't know. But I know, but if we chose to stay here, I'd look at probably selling the home in California. The question is, do I want to live in California, visit here? Do I want to live here and visit wherever? And it's evaluated. We've been here a little over 3.5 months now.
Okay.
And so I think it's young. It's early to tell, but we're situated. We're getting used to everything.
Sure.
I kind of like it. We brought our daughter out, Natalie.
Yeah.
It was her 37th birthday, so we flew her out in September. She'd never been to the islands. Nancy got to take her everywhere. They went in with turtles. They went scuba diving or whatever.
Sure.
Natalie took her first surfboard lessons and got seasick. So,
those are memories you'll never forget.
And I think what she said is what she looked at me and she goes, all right, you know what? You seem like you're so much comfortable here. I go, I am. I go, one of it is, you're right. We run into people, but I kind of like it because I don't know anybody. Now that's me.
Well, you're going to get all your California friends to come to visit, so good luck with that.
Yeah.
All right, so really quick, do you have any advice for veterans looking for a home or looking for help with their claims?
I'll tell you what, you guys, my number one thing is make sure and contact a veteran service officer, because every vet that I've handled, I write a report for, I always say, because they go, well, Doc, what do I do now? And I said, a good one will know you need a statement of incident, you're going to need a DBQ along with a report. And I said, I always tell them, if you can get a good veteran service officer, and I think that's important, because they know the process and they're not going to get so overwhelmed they drop you. Because what do we get frustrated with? We feel like nobody knows the answers, nobody told me.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. Oh, they're just waiting until I die. That's that same deal. And I go, man, don't. Find the right guy. I'm still, like I said, I've been here 3.5 months and I've written 55 reports already in 3.5 months while working.
And that's not even your full-time job
it's
anymore.
It's full-time job by that,
Wow.
but why? Because I still run into vets, and I always tell them, as soon as I tell them, what do I do now? I go, find a good veteran service officer, wherever. There's ones here. If one you don't like, there's a lot of them. There's AMVETs, there's Disabled American Veterans, American Legions have them at times.
Sure.
I know the state usually have a veteran service office group. Find a good one. If you don't like the first one, don't put them all and say they're all bad. Find a good one, because what they're going to do is make sure your claims are filed properly, and then they can follow up for you, because you're going to want to know, where am I at?
Sure, it's kind of a two-way street. The veteran has some responsibility also for getting them the records they need.
Yeah, you do, because you know what? I can't. And the other thing is, like me, I can't read minds. A veteran can tell me things, and I can say, okay, I just had one. I did a report for the guy 2 months ago. He sent it to me, called me back, and he goes, hey, Doc, when do I hear from the VA? I go, well, when did you submit it? He goes, well, don't you do that? I go, no, I'm the doctor. I don't submit it, brother. That's what you do. And he goes, oh. I go, why don't you go find a good veteran service officer?
Help him out.
So I recommended you.
Too many are stubborn, I know.
Said, here, let Joe and
absolutely, that's what we do. All right. Well, I want to thank you very much, Dr. Hayes, for all the work you're doing for the veterans, and aloha,
Yeah,
or
aloha, brother.
all that good stuff. All right.
Take
Peace
care.
out.